if you have a bunch of cooking utensils and you don't know how to cook, but you can build something with the kitchen utensils, then fucking build something. Don't have to necessarily make a cookie.
I didn't know I signed up for that. And with an overlap of virtue signaling, loud people get projected on.
Far from where my priorities are, I get offended, right? I mean, getting offended, as Stephen Hughes likes to say, doesn't give you leprosy. It just means your feelings are hurt. But they want me to wear a mask. They want me to get vaccinated. They want me to stay inside, because then that affirms them doing the same thing. I want you to be afraid with me, because then that's what we are.
I am being very excited to show you the first episode of Diamond and Demons, Demons and Diamonds, new series, which is going to be probably weekly or bi-weekly, and we share opinions. We're very opinionated. We met through our opinionated friend. It's going to be epic. But if you can stand the opinions, there's actually a lot of lessons and life hacks and tips and everything in it. It's really good. Welcome to Diamond and Demons. And before we jump into the official episode today at Fearless Wealth, I just want to point out this is hashtag Team No Delusion. So everything you'll see, intro, mid-tro, intro, recording, everything is raw footage, one take. I will not be doing or redoing or participating in the whole Hollywood thing where everything needs to look polished or fake or perfect, because that's just not real life. So with that being said, welcome into the real world, and now we're jumping into the episode.
It's your opinionated favorite sloth. I stopped doing the whole spiel because it got too long here at Fearless Wealth. And with us, we have a amazing person and endless stories. But Kelly will be part of this new series, Diamond and Demons, because the world needs more of our opinions. and now and forever, I am still upset with our, what do we call him, accountant friend, that he withheld you so long from me.
Yes, he did.
Like, we could have been at it for like 2 years earlier or whatever.
Yeah.
And he kept always saying, "Oh, you're gonna love Kelly." And I'm like, okay, so
Let's go.
let's go.
Yes, we will now fill the opinion-shaped hole that is in the world with our opinions.
With our opinions. And Diamond and Demons is the series that everyone needs in his life. First of all, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And we bring together, except for being extremely opinionated, we think a lot about a lot of things. We discuss a lot of things. We can hold all the polarities. We can walk in the gray. And mostly we'll be judging a lot of people from our little thrones.
Yes.
And on a realistic scale, I would say I represent East Europe. Kelly represents Japan. And together we also are in America. This is kind of the middle ground.
Sure. Let's go with that.
I thought I'd start with a very funny thing. So the quote I shared, which I don't even know, let me pick it up nice and prepared. The quote that you originally sent to me, which was on point, saying, come on, internet, you got this. I post too much. If someone tells me to take it down a notch, that guarantees a five notch increase. Don't try to fucking denotch me.
Mm-hmm.
And just so you're aware, like, people have been losing their shit for me liking America. And I mean, defriending, verbally expressing, how could you betray me? Like, so actual points of betrayal.
Okay.
Actual accusations of me becoming racist for liking America. Now, a lot of that, of course, is very online behavior, but I have decided that I'm going to wrap my car professionally in an American flag.
Yes. That's right. Those are my
Oh,
5 notches.
fuck.
Let me introduce you to the 5 extra notches.
Right.
The contact lenses. My
The
regular.
contact lenses.
Adding blue and white to your hair so that you will have
Right.
the official
I
red,
have an
white, and
American
blue.
flag corset. I have American flag diamond heels. I
Yes.
might get the pants too. Lenses have been ordered. Car is in the making.
Yeah.
Within, I don't know, 2 months or something. Those are my notches. And I feel like I used to be, we are petty. But I remember back in the day, people would really upset me by telling me how I should spend my money. And I would either like blow it on cocaine just for the sake of that. Like I would just hand out cocaine to friends, or I would set it on fire on camera and be like, every time someone's going to tell me how I should spend my money, this is what I'm doing with it.
Right.
So
that's right.
We're not setting it on fire right now. We're just buying more flags.
Right. But either way, you've somehow raised their dreams of you spending your money. Well, I was thinking raised more like RAZE, like set it on fire. Like, I mean, that's the thing is, it's like the moment you have ambitions for my shit, I will promptly remind you whose shit you're trying to direct here, and it's not yours. So kindly refrain and back out of my space. Like I don't understand that. I don't understand the people who. I mean, look, I'm as libertarian as the next person or whatever, but like, there's no point in sitting here resenting a geography. Like, it's like there's no sense to it, right? And at the end of the day, if you've got a collective of friends or networks or an economy that you want to tap or whatever it is that you're using the states for, and it serves a benefit to you, then use it for that. Fuck it. I mean, look, if you have a bunch of cooking utensils and you don't know how to cook, but you can build something with the kitchen utensils, then fucking build something. Don't have to necessarily make a cookie. Like, there's a recommended application for everything. Right. And then there's off label. We do that all the time with drugs. We do. Here's the prescribed way to use this drug. But there's also all this off label shit that you can use for that has benefits as well. So whatever. And it's like you have your own label of shit that you want to use the United States for that it benefits you, then that's all there is. It's like I don't understand the opinion about it. Like I feel like that people have opinions about it that you're supposed to carry for them as well. And I don't know where we signed up for that. I don't remember signing up for that club. So
well, you're bringing on a very interesting point, because I didn't know I signed up for that. And with an overlap of virtue signaling, loud people get projected on. Whether it's like celebrities too, right? Like celebrities, especially during our beautiful apocalypse of 2 years, the celebrities were all ought to make a statement, whether it was BLM, whether it was Ukraine, see, American, but people of importance or platform are supposed to speak up. And I have no idea where these people got this crack.
Well, I think where it is that once you come into something, right, whether it's wealth or influence or both for that matter, then people start to look at that and try to apply where that can go and where that fits in terms of need, right? That's the instinctive thing to do is where it's needed most. And they're applying it to their own sense of priorities. So I have a sense of priorities of, the environment and poor people and whatever. I listed off, and where it ends up taking you in that line of reasoning, if you want to even call it reasoning, is the feeling of deserving, and which is disguising the word entitlement, that, these things deserve your attention, deserve your time, deserve your energy, deserve your wealth, whatever it is. And when you direct it in a way that's far from where my priorities are, I get offended, right? I mean, getting offended, as Stephen Hughes likes to say, doesn't give you leprosy. It just it just means your feelings are hurt. But, people apply that and they really feel like you need to earn my respect and my kudos and my praise. You need to go earn that. And it's like, but that's not my job, right? I'm not working for that. So I don't understand how it became my job, but here we are. And you're telling me that I'm falling asleep on the job I never applied for. So.
Right. Absolutely. And let me be very clear. Someone else's approval, appreciation, or understanding of my lifestyle or opinion is irrelevant.
Right.
But you made a very valid point when it comes to people start projecting what you should do. It's mostly victimized people who have a sense of helplessness, who feel an a sense of injustice in their life personally, not even a collective one, personally.
Right.
And it ironically it turns into this like extremely binary thinking.
Right.
Using another personal example, I went to the Whole Foods, as I do, and I got like this hippity hoppity pink cute drink, which was like $9, and I posted trying new things on my Instagram story, and 2 people sent me a message who don't even follow me, by the way. That's an extremely leftover drink, don't you think? Because people start adapting my term. And I'm like, first of all, I don't think leftovers can afford this, for one. And 2, what the insinuation even that, just because I have certain stands in life that I shouldn't be utilizing products that just benefit me or that I just like, whatever, because it's associated with another side. That's absolutely chronic online and mental illness.
Right. You become it's so interesting. I had this conversation before with somebody else, and it was and this is what I said. I said, look, think of the worst person, right? The racist, bigoted. I mean, truly, like they really are racist. Like not like racist in the way they're saying. They typically use it and sling it around. I mean it, like full blown. Think of the worst possible person, like the absolute degenerate, right? I mean, just list it off and ascribe it to this one person. That person still goes grocery shopping and drives a car and has a job and is going about their life. And they're going to be and they're going to be touching all of these things. They're going to buy peanut butter. Okay, and they're going to drive a car, and they're going to have a job, and they're going to wear certain clothes, and they're going to do all these things. To say that, oh, because this racist buys Skippy peanut butter, people who buy Skippy peanut butter are therefore now associated with the lowest common denominator that consumes the thing, right? And it's just like,
I need you to repeat that again. Go.
Okay. So the brand and the lowest common denominator become inextricably linked, essentially. So you've said, okay, because racists buy Skippy peanut butter, anybody who buys Skippy peanut butter must be a racist, right? It's the worst logic possible. Skippy peanut butter couldn't give a fuck who buys it. All money is green for them.
It just wants to be bought.
It just wants to be bought. It doesn't give a fuck. I mean, it has to, for ESG purposes, has to pretend to give a fuck. But in actuality, they don't care that the Klan buys Skippy peanut butter. Like, they don't.
Right.
They don't care. And that's just like Chevrolet doesn't care that a racist bought their truck, right? They don't. And, Sig Sauer doesn't care that a racist bought their guns. Money is money. And that is a universal thing. And I'm not going to reduce my brand to the lowest common denominator that happens to consume it. That is not how this works. And the same is true if you think about it in terms of a democracy, that somebody is going to vote for someone, right? The racist is going to vote for someone. And to say they're a single issue voter and they only vote on race would be myopic, to say the least, right? You could conceive, there is a world, in fact, it would be this world, where you could align with a racist on economic issues because they have nothing to do with race, right? Low taxes is not a racial issue. So
Even though the internet
essentially,
likes to make it a thing.
it does, but it also thinks that working out at the gym is a racist issue, and it really isn't.
Absolutely.
And a keto
And it's
diet is
sexist.
also it's sexist as
It's
well.
sexist. Yeah.
Yes, I am a self-loathing female now because apparently, if I exercise, I hate women.
Well, because you're trying to conform to patriarchal beauty standards by going to the gym.
Right, or exercising or caring about my health at all in any way. And so by
Please don't bring
extension,
your logic. But yeah.
no. So I mean, but essentially what that means is that in order for me to truly be open-minded, pluralistic, and progressive, I would have to have a complete disregard for myself. Right? I'd have to let myself go entirely because that's the alternative to what I'm doing. And so they've branded behavior, they've branded everything with whoever they hate and said, okay, connecting these dots and now forever, this is it. You have to carry this albatross around your neck that this racist picked up your brand. And it's like, it doesn't matter. We were going to buy a brand, and it doesn't matter that we share this because that's not what inherently makes someone racist is the level of, or the kind of peanut butter they buy, right? Like that's not racism, but you've tangentially made it that way. And it's like, and these dots are being connected out in the ethers through marketing and affiliation, essentially, right? So an example would be, I worked at an ad agency where we were talking about whether or not it made sense for our advertiser to be on Howard Stern's show. This was in the early 2000s, so Howard Stern was really big, but he was a shock jock. Like people who know him know he's a shock jock. And they said, well, it's not brand safe to put him there. To which one of the members of leadership at the time pushed back and said, people who listen to Howard Stern still fly planes and travel. They would use this site and they would still want a good deal on a rental car as much as the person who listens to NPR, right?
Right.
So what difference does it, the ethic of saving money on travel is not unique to progressive people. It is a general thing that appeals to large groups of people. And the only people who would know that we advertised on Howard Stern would be people who listen to Howard Stern, right? And it's like, so what difference does it make? Like, and the same happened again when we were asking about whether or not it made sense for another advertiser I worked on to be on Fox News, right? And to be, where, Tucker Carlson is. And I said, to be fair, I said, you don't have to necessarily be in the program. You can be in the lobby of the program, right? Don't have to go into the auditorium. You can be outside of that and still be on the network. Get that viewership, whatever that is. I said, if you had to, if you didn't want to align yourself directly with the program. I said, but alternatively, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to turn down conservative money? Am I willing to do that? Does that make sense for my brand? To say I don't believe in acquiring, conservative money. And I think it was Michael Jordan who said, Republicans buy shoes too. So he was willing to sell it to whoever bought it, right? What difference does it make that you're a Republican or Democrat? You need shoes and you're going to buy my brand. And it's like, I don't care who buys it. Your money's just as green. And there used to be an ethos of that where it was like, we didn't get so hypersensitive of the type of customer we were attracting because we understood that that our product was not making a statement just because a person who makes a statement needed our product. They could exist independently, and so that nuance has completely disappeared. And now everything we do is an affiliation or an indicator or a dog whistle, to appeal to this darker side of society or this underbelly of society. And it's like, even if that's true, even if ultimately that's who I attracted, right? Let's say that's true. And the only people that will listen to me are, absolute degenerate racists. Let's just say that's true. That doesn't mean that's who I intended to reach. It just means they're the ones who heard something they liked. But in the entire thing that I'm saying, everything that I've said so far, at no point have I praised it, have I heralded it? Have I said this is okay or acceptable? Or have I even espoused anything that would remotely be perceived as a racist sentiment? But the fact is that I also believed that I should leave them alone until they do something warranting my attention, right? Like, that's a thing. Like, I'm not looking for you. I'm not trying to find you. I'm not trying to associate with you. But if you start making your business my business, then we have a problem, And
Right.
until the day that your business becomes my business, I don't fucking care. Like, I can't live in fear of this existential idea that floats out there that people keep telling me is scary and should be feared.
That, first and foremost, all this name calling that's happening a lot for me, and it's been in the last 3 years specifically, even in person when I went to New York to teach in New York, and it was a very, very leftover platform, which I hadn't known because it wasn't prior to the apocalypse. After or during or after the apocalypse, it went very, very, very leftover. So I'm completely new, like kind of like, oh my God, am I gonna? Ugh. But okay, it was. I took it as a great exercise for myself upon not first of all not being reactive. Second of all, always inserting more questions, because the thing with leftovers is that if you keep asking enough questions, they kind of like drown themselves with their own logic, which is it. I must confess, it's an absolutely entertaining and amusing thing to observe and witness, if not only from your affirmation that you are superior, if anything. But and we talked about this prior, that somehow Elon Musk became part of the conversation, and apparently one of Tesla's companies, like physical Tesla company, had a racist thing going on. Like it's a lawsuit, right? And whether or not it was one, I'm not sure about that. But so it went from Tesla has a racist lawsuit, therefore Elon Musk is racist. We hate Elon Musk, we hate Elon Musk, we hate Elon Musk. And I was like, oh, I don't hate him at all. Oh, so you are racist.
Wow.
And right. Like every normal person is going to like, well, that's a real stretch. Also to make that, using Elon as an example, such a big person with such vast, even financial accomplishments, right, or entrepreneurial one, to attribute racism because one of his companies has a lawsuit going on, and therefore that's his whole identity right now. That was such a mental stretch for me, but I'm seeing it more and more every time, right? It's now stuff like, you're giving platform to, therefore you are XYZ. You have not publicly condemned XYZ, therefore you are XYZ. So we're going to just by proximity, right? Hitler was driving a Tesla. I'm driving a Tesla, therefore I want everyone who's non-white to die.
Yep. Skippy peanut butter. That's right. Racist bought Skippy peanut butter the other day, and now everybody who buys Skippy peanut butter is by extension a racist. That's the logic. And the problem with it is it's become very performative, right? It's that the chronically online are looking to be chronically entertained, and they need you to perform.
Say it again. Say it again.
The chronically online are looking to be chronically entertained. And they're saying, dance, bitch, dance, right? Like, they want you to do the dance. They want you to do the whole performance of, I officially, denounce blah, blah, blah. And, and I affirm ABC and I whatever. And I think because it's become so performative, it's also become incredibly disingenuous, right? Because now you're just putting on the show for me or for whomever. Not me, because I didn't ask, but like someone, you're putting on that show for someone. And in exchange, You want their praise, you want their high esteem, you want their approval, you want their, acceptance, their like, whatever it is, right? The heart react or whatever. They want that back. And so now what's happening is we're seeing a sort of transactional sociological phenomenon of, I'm going to dance for you, and then I want you to give me back the currency that I need, which is affirmation or likes or approval or, praise, a comment, something in the algorithm to boost me. And that's what I want. And they're just brokering a deal. And it's like, a virtue, right? Or supposed virtue, I guess. I mean, because it's arbitrary. It's completely arbitrary what it is to be kind or nice or respectful. None of that means anything. Like, I had a woman tell me yesterday, and she gave me this false choice of saying that, well, I can either be respectful of somebody's identity, or I can throw a tantrum like a child. And I was like, those are my choices? I feel like those are the choices. Like, I can be I think she said something like a combative toddler were the words. And I'm like, wow. So I'm either going to just kiss your ass or throw down. Those are my two choices. There's nothing in between. Like I said, you understand that there's a myriad of behaviors that I highly disapprove of, that I've never assaulted anyone over, right? Like that.
Right.
That happens.
I need to pause you specifically at this and have listeners specifically pause. False choice is by far the best descriptor ever. And a lot of inflammatory people will use extreme false, polarizing extreme false choices as if, okay, so and the bacon is great, right? Like, oh, I eat bacon. Oh, so you mean all the vegans should perish? I have no idea how we got
Obvious.
there.
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh.
either you're pro animal cruelty or you think that all vegans should perish. Like these absolute batshit chronically online and ill choices that not even they're arguing that this is the thing, they're arguing points that you haven't even that aren't even the subject of conversation.
No, right. It's created out of whole cloth. Like their mind just goes to the most extreme possible places, and nobody else is thinking that way until you put that in their heads. Now, some people do start to pick it up, and it becomes almost like a sort of contagion where people are like, oh no, I'm going to start thinking in that extreme binary. I remember I think I shared an update about Andrew Tate, which, by the way, at the time, that was the first I'd ever heard of him. I had no idea who he was at the time. It was several months ago. And I had heard the name and never bothered to look it up. So I knew of him. I knew what he looked like because people posted his pictures and were getting all uppity about him. I never actually sat down and listened to any of his content. I had no idea. But I heard he had gotten arrested in Romania. And I was like, holy shit, dude got arrested in Romania. That's kind of a big deal. Like, what the hell? Like, what's going to happen? I have no idea what the legal system of Romania is. But this dude's in a Romanian jail. That's fucked up. So, and so I was like, this guy is, I think the headline was something to the effect of, no formal charges have actually been leveled yet, which they hadn't. He was just being detained. And I'm just like, that's already fucked up, guys, right? Like by American standards, that's not okay. If we did that to somebody here, we would be ape shit in the street looting Target. Okay? So this is not okay. And I said something, I was like, this is crazy. I think that's all I said was, this is nuts. I can't believe this is happening to somebody, and I had somebody comment on there and says, you actually follow this? And I said, whoa, back up. First of all, I don't follow anybody. I said, I don't need to. I said, I lead myself. I said, so put that in your little notebook. Second of all, I just found the headline to be somewhat startling, if not completely confounding, as an American looking into Romania. Like, that's not okay. Like, this should not be okay to anybody, right? And I think she came back with something like, well, when you traffic humans, that's what you get. And I'm just like, okay, but that's the headline literally says there's no charges. So he hasn't been charged with human trafficking, which means they're still looking for evidence of this, right? So I don't know what the story is, which I didn't. I said, I don't know what the story is. I said, but if this is what's happening, that they can arrest somebody first and then go find charges later, that's fucked up. Like, that's never okay. I don't care who you are, and I don't care. I said, my ex-husband should not go through that. Like, that's not okay. It doesn't matter if I like you. It matters that this is unacceptable, right? And it was like talking to a wall, because once you convince yourself that you can dehumanize somebody to such a degree that they don't deserve basic human rights, right? Or that they don't deserve the kind of liberty that we're accorded here, it starts to get really dark very quickly, right? They've taken it to the point where Andrew Tate is not a human being in their eyes.
Right. And I have to, and full disclosure here, I am not completely void of that thinking either. I think that if you have very stupid ideas, or if you have certain very stupid behavior, you deserve the lowest, or you deserve to be I don't want to say harm, because I think violence and harm, definitely a threshold in line that I'm not willing to cross in that sense. But I do think like, oh, well, okay, well, too bad. You like, hey, you got sick because you got stupid ideas. I'm like, stuff luck, can't relate. Sucks to be you. So
Right.
I love that you point that out, because one thing that I had noticed, and using Andrew Tate absolutely as a great conversational example of that, is that because people dislike Andrew Tate, whether it's for valid reasons or not, that therefore he deserves to be handled unjust.
Right.
And that's whoo,
that's rough. I mean, you get what you put out. So I mean, and so to your point, right? Stupid is as stupid does. So if you go and do a bunch of stupid shit and then you reap the consequences of that, it is what it is, right? That's just a natural cause and effect. I don't have to tell you what you deserve, and I don't have to dole it out. You're going to walk into that sand trap yourself. You will. I mean, that's the thing, is it's like, people who behave a certain way will ultimately meet themselves, right? And meet the consequences of stupidity at some point. I mean, I see a lot of the things that people go through and a lot of the struggle and trauma that they espouse or purport to have as a direct result of some of their personal choices, and lack of, abdication of responsibility. That's going to bite you in the ass. It doesn't even matter whether I think you deserve it. It's been given to you. That's your reality. My opinion on the matter doesn't matter, right? But in the case of Andrew Tate, or anybody for that matter who gets caught up in the legal system.
We can even use Trump.
Yeah. I think when you start to abuse the system and target people with it, that should be a canary in the coal mine for anybody. And what typically happens is that
it should be a what?
A canary in the coal mine. It's a warning. That's a euphemism or a adage. It means like, if a canary dies in the coal mine, there's something noxious or dangerous in the air. So
that's where it comes from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See? Yeah. #immigrant life, yes.
But it should be a warning to anybody, right? But the thing is they always test these things on the least desirables, right? The undesirables. So we're talking, they have no problem letting things happen to poor people in poor countries. They have no problem letting bad things happen to prostitutes. They have no problem letting things happen to people in prisons. That's why you can put men in female prisons. That's okay, because they're just prisoners, right? They've debased them to such a degree that we can test it out and see if your threshold allows for this. They start to do it with the people who are undesirables, right? And in society. So, Trump is undesirable. We've branded him as such. I can test it out on him, and nobody will really balk because nobody really likes Trump. So it's okay, right? I can do this. See, watch, I can do it. And so Andrew Tate, same thing. It's like, I can test out these practices on people you don't like first, get your buy-in, and then at some point the mission creep comes for you, right? So the reason why you oppose it happening to others is because you oppose it happening to yourself. If you believe that they come first, that means they're coming for you next at some point, and you got to know that. If Trump can do it, so can Biden. If Biden can do it, so can Trump. And when you allow things to happen under those regimes, you have to be willing to accept that you've said it's okay for anyone to do it. And it's okay to happen to anyone. It doesn't just happen to a particular person. It happens to anyone now. And
right, the system becomes irrelevant. It's just your opinion of deservingness, by lack of better wording, whether or not it's fair, it's okay or not.
correct. Right. And it's like, and you've completely thrown out the entire notion of due process, right? It's innocent until proven guilty. Like, we don't do that for people anymore. They're already guilty. Russell Brand is already guilty. He hasn't, nothing has happened yet. And he's still guilty. It's like, oh my God, like, that's not okay. Like, I understand what the allegations are, but right now, that's the stage we're in, is allegations. You can't just demonetize somebody who's not gone through due process. You can't start, forfeiting his existence, and erasing him and demonetizing him and depersoning him in some way. Those are consequences for criminality that could certainly be a consequence or a sentence issued to somebody for some form of criminality once determined, once found guilty. But somebody said a thing, that's not enough. Are there pieces of evidence out there that can be investigated to take this to court? Maybe. Then go do that. And figure it out. But you don't get to do all of this to him because he's guilty first. That bothers me. Like, that should bother everybody. And it's not. And that's the problem. I recently wrote a piece about, the fact that there is such thing as a corporate death penalty, right? That the state can literally just dissolve your company and nationalize the assets, and it becomes public property. Like, that's dark shit. That's what they did to Trump. And I'm just like, wait, you sentenced his company to death because of allegations of fraud, no trial, no jury, and no actual burden of proof that there was harm done. There's no victim. Nobody's claiming fraud. This is just the state pulling it out of a hat saying you've defrauded people. And the people that they're saying have been defrauded are saying, no, we didn't. This is not fraud. We don't feel defrauded. This is not a fraudulent situation. He still is about to lose all of his companies and corporations that are registered in New York. They were sentenced to death. There's like, the clock is ticking. There's a few days. I don't know if somebody's going to be able to file an injunction in time to save them. But this is a huge enterprise that's going to be taken down simply because I don't like you. This is obscure legal theory. Like, this isn't real. This has never happened before. These are unprecedented applications of the law. You don't have to like Trump, but you should be really concerned if you have a corporation registered in New York and you cross somebody's ass. You know what I'm saying? You piss off somebody. Next thing you know, we can just undo and destroy everything that you've built. Like, that's insane. And we should be upset about it. Like, and yet nobody is, and nobody cares. And it's like, because it's Trump. They've dehumanized him to such a degree that he just deserves to be punished without due process. And it's just like, I just don't know that these are think of the countries that allow that to happen. China does that. North Korea does that. I don't know. They just disappear people. Like,
Russia does that.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, there's plenty of countries where we sit
They're
here
being
and
unalived.
Yeah. We used to joke about Hillary Clinton doing that stuff, but now it's just like, there's a machine that does it. And it's like, do you really want to live in a country that does this? Because the thing here's the thing. I would rather live with the ugliness of humanity than live under the threat of government sanitation, right? When the government sanitizes something, understand that everything's a germ, including you. It doesn't know you from anyone else. And so I would rather live in the filth of humanity and say, okay, I'm willing to suck up the fact that there's a racist here, or that there's a bigot here, or a sexist here. I will accept that you exist in the world, and that's okay. I'd rather you just exist and we all just chill out peacefully and find our own corners. The world is big enough to handle it. And if I don't like what you're saying, I'll just unfollow you because I'm a grown-up and I can click buttons. And if you don't like what I have to say, you can also click the buttons. and exercise your adulthood, and we'll just be cool here. Because the moment you say this is not cool and it becomes criminal, and you start criminalizing bad thoughts, bad ideas, dissent, dissidents, anything like that, you get lawfare, you get government sanitation. And I don't know that that's the better play. I mean, it is while it's on your side, right? But when it comes for you, it's going to be too late, is the thing. No matter how deep in the pack you are, at some point it's going to work its way from the back all the way forward, and it's going to get to you. And at that point, there's no one left. So you're on your own. Have fun in the gulag. Like, I don't know. I don't like the idea of I don't like where that logic goes. A, it's unintelligible. B, it's untenable. And C, it's irrational and performative. So it serves no purpose other than instant gratification.
Right. And when I used to, back in the day, when I used to kind of touch on or kind of like dance around the edges of certain bandwagons, and I've used 100% in the further past. I've definitely used certain ideologies, certain terminologies, right? Certain words, buzzwords, trying to stay away as much as I can about that right now, and even acknowledge, like, back then, within the context that I had, that seemed the most reasonable and most accurate thing. Now, either zooming out or either having matured, right? I look differently at XYZ. So back in the day, I used to be really annoyed about the argument of false rape accusations, right? And it seems to be right now that seems to absolutely be a theme in Hollywood, like, or the broadest online spectrum, I guess. Which recently someone posed a question which really brought me to think, what consequence would we deem appropriate, just you and I, for someone who makes false sexual assault accusations?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I will say first and foremost, as a premise upon which I will make my case, I am a strong advocate for restorative justice as opposed to punitive justice. That is to say, punitive justice is, you did bad thing, we do bad thing back to you. That's punitive, right? I'm just coming out to punish you, right? But it never really restores anything to the victim. It doesn't do me any good to know that somebody is serving time after they burnt my house down. Like, what good? Like, I'm not, like, if somebody set my house on fire, right? An arsonist came along and set my house on fire and destroyed all my worldly possessions. For them to sit in jail makes no sense for me as the victim. It makes sense to the state. It makes sense to broader society. Yeah, you should do time, right? That's punitive. Restorative says, you're indentured to her until she's completely restored to where she needs to be and she's made whole. That's restorative, right? So now we're saying, you are in service to the victim. You took something from her. You got to give something back. That's the deal. That's the deal. Yeah, that is the punishment. That is the sentence. And so how does that look, right? And then you proceed to you build out a plan, right? To make sure that this person who burnt down my home restores me back to whole in some way. And whatever I lost, he is making up for. And then some, with interest even. Fine, whatever. But that, to me, is better for the victim. And that's what it should have been about in the first place, right? It isn't just to see how hard you can crack a whip on somebody's back. So now let's take the example of false allegations. False allegations, to me, falls well under the scope of, maligning someone's character, slander, libel. You've made a false claim and you've had this impact on somebody's life. And this has happened. People have lost their scholarships, their college scholarships. People have been kicked out of schools that are off teams. They have, they've lost their jobs. They've been demonetized. All sorts of heavy shit has happened because of false
Lost jobs,
allegations.
lost houses, lost
Lost
livelihood,
their
basically.
kids. They lost
Right.
custody of their
Custody.
kids. Yep, they lose all sorts of shit from false allegations. Now we need to figure out what that number looks like and say, okay, you did this. This is false. These are my losses and damages from this allegation. I can't rebuild from this either because I can't unring a bell, you know? So some of this is permanent damage, which means if I'm suffering a life sentence for what you did, so are you. What does that look like? I don't know. That would have to be determined by, based on damages. I lost my scholarship. I lost this. You owe me a college education. Fair.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
And you are by far a better person than I am. Because I would even say a combination of both. So you made me lose my house, you fucking lose your house, and you have to restore my end. Right? You lost me school. Now you get deprived, and I understand that it'll become a tricky thing, but now you get deprived of a privilege or a right, and you have to restore my end, which is a problem. There's going to be a lot of finances involved in that. But even like forcing the false alligator is that is that
I think that's a ledger.
false alligator.
Yeah. I'm not
We're
really
going with
the reptilians.
hashtag immigrant life. But the false alligator, the way they spoke up with their fucking chest, let them speak up now, right? Publicly,
with the same energy.
not once, because
Right.
the amount of times that media has spent on false allegation, now you must appear that amount of time on like to speak up about how, and we're just going to repeat because that's what media does. Media has been repeating the allegations as if they were true. Now I want you to endlessly repeat that you're a liar, that you made it up, whatever the fucking whatever reasoning you can conjure up within your like. So I'm pure punitive and restorative, but not punitive in a sense like jail, because obviously the industrial complex does not it's joke.
Right. What I would rather that person be working for the victim than working for the state or the prison system. Like that's who deserves it. That's who needs it. That's who you've transgressed. That's who you took from. That's who you must give back to. And people are like, well, you have to make right with society. No, they don't. They need to make right with the person they fucked. You fucked this person over in some way. You owe them, not society. That society is not entitled. We are not a collective victim. I don't believe in that.
Right.
I believe that there are names to the people who get hurt. And if you can't give me names and you're just saying you transgress the state, like that's what they say when you speed and there's no accident, right? It's the city of Phoenix versus Kelly Diamond. And I'm like, the city of fucking Phoenix doesn't know I exist. B, couldn't give a fuck. C, was not in any way harmed. Like, there's not actual harm here. You just don't like the fact that I was going 5 over the speed limit. Right. That's it. No victim, no harm. But, and no crime. But in the case of where there is a victim, I think we do need to take seriously allegations of libel. Like, and that should be, it shouldn't be so fucking impossible. I feel like Johnny Depp had to go through quite a bit and spend a whole lot just to clear his name with Amber Heard.
And it's still not clear, mind you.
No, he lost the franchise of Pirates of the Caribbean. She's not even paying for that. Right.
And we in future episodes I'll use a different software where I can actually pull up media and we can play it while we both look at it. It's very handy. Gotta love the time we live in. But there's whole groups still right now pro Amber Heard. And I mean whole groups. And the biggest thing that I've noticed from like an outsider perspective is that over the pond, Europe is pro Amber because the way they have released the Amber trial, not the Johnny Depp and Amber trial, but when Amber was happening, the way they portrayed her properly as a victim. So the majority of European people are pro Amber and the majority of Americans are pro Johnny. Meanwhile, they're both batshit crazy, don't get me wrong, but he should have not been done dirty the way he did. So what would even, and even she doesn't even, she still is of belief that, the jury made a bad call, by lack of better wording, right? And that she is still a victim.
Okay. I mean, she identifies as a victim, doesn't, I think you're entitled to think however you want of yourself. We are equally entitled to reject that identity, right? So,
absolutely.
I mean, I'm not obligated to agree with her, and the courts don't agree with her. So she's kind of alone in this with England. She's
right.
Her and England get to hang out and agree with each other, and it doesn't mean anything. I mean, but at the end of the day, if the court says Johnny Depp is not liable for anything, and you dragged his name for no reason, I mean, I don't think he's seeking those damages. I think they ordered damages and he said, no, I'm not going to take it. I just wanted to prove a point. I think that happened. But at the end of the day, she should be coming out with the same level of energy that she did with her little op-ed piece. And
absolutely,
I mean, she should at least be doing, making a public announcement and a public apology in writing through the same publications that were willing to post for false allegations. Those publications are obligated then to post her apology. It doesn't have to be their opinion, but they are obligated to take that story and broadcast it and platform it, because they participated in the libel. They did. It's the same with the Russiagate thing with Trump. You participated in the libel. Well, we thought it was a credible story. Well, good for you. It's not. So it's been disproven. You now need a bigger retraction than a small fine print at the end of the back of the newspaper. I need you to actually broadcast this with the same energy. And it's like, and they're not doing it. And it's like, and I think that's the problem, is like, we're not holding everybody accountable to these things. And we're not, I mean, I feel like if you're not going to hold people accountable, then people are going to get away with a lot of shit,
Well, yeah, but the problem is, for accountability to exist as a collective, you have to carry certain characteristics within yourself. Which could be boiled down to a self-awareness, self-knowledge, but also accountability, integrity, right there. Those are required for a self-accountability even to exist, including all the byproduct that comes with that, being able to apologize, being able to acknowledge that you're wrong, being able to even see that you're wrong, let alone acknowledge, but even like recognizing that you were perhaps misinformed, or that you were within that context, and basing your opinion, your behavior based on the context and information you were dealt at that point, and being able to say like, oh, clearly either I was missing something or I was too biased because of XYZ, doesn't matter. And then we can have these conversations on a collective or a bigger scale, whether it's media or not. Because I personally, as a person with a backbone that I publicly brag about, I have such, and I really, I'm going to pause for this for a second. I have such deep respect for people who are able to apologize, because it takes such a inner turmoil, especially when you set things with your chest, or you dove in something. I might not never be friends with you, or still might not perceive you in a positive daylight, but the moment you are able to apologize, you will receive a different level of respect from me. And go on.
No, yeah. I mean, I agree. I think that, I think people who can actually say, I mean, I'm waiting for the people who said I fucked up during the whole pandemic. Like
the apocalypse?
Yeah. Like, here, the world is fucking ending. You're sitting here accusing me of killing grandmothers. Where the fuck are you now? Everybody's talking about how the mask didn't work and all the stuff is starting to get retracted, and nobody is backpedaling. Everybody is they're not even backpedaling. They're just trying to be quiet. And I mean, I've noticed the people who were so loud during the pandemic are now very quiet about it. And it's just like, So is that your
I,
way of
I am
apologizing?
I am still bitter about it. I'm not gonna lie. I have a
Mm,
lot of resentment
yeah,
towards people who not only have called me certain names, but who have attempted to act upon, me being the monster that I was,
right.
including all that came with it.
Right.
And talking about the apocalypse, it's there's some prediction for round two coming right now, and it just seems that there was a specific order in which information was handed out, right? So at the beginning, masks work, vaccines work. 100% you'll never get it. And then that got a little bit retracted and at least like changed into, they work 90% and they work most of the time, right? So we're getting a little bit more subtle with the language. Then, even more terms and conditions and came to like, they're not fully so, but perhaps under these circumstances, it's working. And it seems that, and I will, for one of our episodes, I will write them down, the exact steps, because it seems that when people opted out at point two, where the last belief they had was that everything was effective, if they went out of the news cycle at that point, they're still holding on to that belief. And also, I'm still seeing fucking. I picked up Big Sis and Big Bro right last week from the airport, and there are people walking around with masks.
In Montana?
Yeah, obviously they're outsiders. Like they flew into Montana.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because I'm
Because I'm
like,
at the airport, right?
yeah.
So
Okay.
clearly these are not Montanans. But I'm like, are you still using Windows 97 too? Like, are you trying to pay with travel checks, or like what do we like? Nokia 3310? Like, what are we doing here?
We're on dial-up. Right.
Is your horse
Yeah.
and carriage waiting outside, or are you driving with the car? Like,
Hey,
what are we
that's
doing
possible
here?
though. That's actually
Right.
possible.
Well,
But
the
no,
people who
yeah,
actually use the horse and carriage would never participate in any of this
no,
fucking
exactly.
service.
That's exactly right. I think, but I think that's the thing, right? Is it's like I don't know what they're clinging to, and it's like, well, I do. I think they're clinging to a modicum of fear. Like they're not sure what happens if they do take it off. What am I to believe? Well, better safe than sorry. Okay, but I don't know that you're necessarily safe. You're breathing your own exhalations. Like, are you safe? Because that doesn't sound safe. Like I would think you'd be safer just breathing open, fresh air, like than breathing what you just exhaled. Your body just got rid of it and you took it back in. Like that can't be good. And the moisture and all of that and the pneumonia and the possibilities of that. It's like the whole thing is just gross.
But you're going too deep right now. Like
Yeah.
you're arguing details that not only make very much sense, but you're bypassing the fact that if I'm gonna listen to you, you better have the receipts. And
Yeah.
I'm using my own foster
Yeah.
parents and parents as example, who were like smoking cigarettes like a motherfucker and telling me I couldn't smoke when I was 14. I'm like, while I can respect your authority, I'm taking your words with a grain of salt, right? Or um unless you actually stopped smoking, then I can have a conversation with you. So I'm trying to protect you as a nation while you have zero receipts of that ever being the case, or even handling the world in as if it's in my best intention.
Right. Yeah. They weren't looking. They weren't looking for. Here's the thing: when people ask me to comply with a particular thing, they're looking for validation themselves, right? They're asking me. They're not actually asking me to do the thing because that makes me better or that makes the world better. What it does is it makes them feel better because they feel affirmed. So like everything from they want me to wear a mask, they want me to get vaccinated, they want me to stay inside because then that affirms them doing the same thing. I want you to be afraid with me because then that's what we are. You can take the same logic and apply it to female bathrooms. The only reason why a trans-identifying male or female would want to, or male would want to actually come into a female bathroom is if I'm there. My female presence affirms their identity. If no women actually used women's spaces and only trans women used female spaces, they wouldn't have the affirmation of that space anymore because it would no longer belong to women. Women have abdicated their ownership of that space and said, no, I'm not touching it anymore. And by virtue of us not using it, they've lost the affirmation. The same is true with the masks or anything else. If you say, I'm not doing this, I'm opting out, then you've essentially told them, this is not your space. I'm not affirming you. I'm not saying this is okay. I'm not giving you I'm perfectly happy to let you do whatever you want to do. I don't give a shit. But I'm not going to play along with you. I'm not going to do the make-believe with you. I'm not going to freak out about things the way you freak out about things. So I'm not freaking out about the environment with you. I'm not freaking out about the masks with you. I'm not going to call you a woman when you're not one. I'm not doing the make-believe with you. I'm not playing. And I reserve the right not to play. And when you don't play and when you don't go along with it, the illusions start to crumble and it gets really fucking scary for people who need that from you. They do need it. And they get really upset when they don't get it. Like there's a certain, I don't know what kind of mental illness that is, but it is absolutely something that requires external parties to participate in their ideas of reality. And I don't know that that's a thing that again, something I didn't sign up for, but I got recruited.
Right.
And I'm like, how did I get on this playing field? I never wanted to play. Like, this isn't me, and now we're all playing. So I'm literally just sitting down on the bench saying, I'm not fucking doing this. Like, I'm not doing this with you. Like,
right. And not only am I not doing this, I'm gonna look at you, verbally express, oh, look, it's the crazy person again, and continue my day.
Right.
Right? Because I want to verbally make sure that I'm not only am I not going to be engaging into you, I want you and the world to know what I'm thinking of it, and that I will not be participating in the game, because participating in a crazy person's game makes the game only bigger.
That's right. And they need that.
Right? So I'm like, hey, it's John from the corner. He's a crazy person. And I'll continue my day. Or, hey, it's fucking Jessica being whatever, Jessica always does. It's a crazy person. I'm continuing my day.
Right. No, and I think it's important. I think people who opt out and people who abstain or don't participate are essentially, to your point, keeping the game small. They're not allowing it to sweep up. And it's like, I'm not I know it's fun to be able to say we're all doing this thing together, but we're not doing this thing together. Like, I'm not in your boat. I'm in my own boat on the same ocean, but I'm not in your boat. So I'm going to be navigating these waters differently than you. And
get the fuck off my boat or you get shot.
And get the fuck off my boat, or
because you get shot.
That's right. I'm going to have a mess to clean up on aisle 4. I don't want to do that. I would prefer not, but it's like, you give me no choice, because people are literally compelling this out of you, right? You have to do this or else, right? It's like there's an or else to it now. And it's like, that's really interesting that you came up with a consequence. You contrived this consequence of my inaction, right? That in a country that is largely predicated on things we don't do to each other. That's the irony of it, right? Is that of all the cultures, the United States does have a culture. Everybody laughs that it doesn't. It does. The culture is based on what we don't do, which is unique in the sense that every other country is defined by what it does. We are defined by how we cook and how we prepare food. We're defined by our dances. We're defined by our folk songs and our lore. We're defined by our traditions. The United States doesn't have that. We're defined by things we don't do. And that is unique to the country, in that we are defined by what we don't do to each other. We don't abridge your speech. We don't prevent you from defending yourself. We don't do these things. That we are a country predicated on negative culture in that sense. And so it's hard for people to conceptualize that. And so they think we don't have one. But in reality, that is the culture. And, to say that you must now do affirmative things is completely counter to American culture when you think of it. You know, it doesn't jive. The average American is going to be like, you're going to tell me to do something? You can't tell me what to do. That's not what we do here. You know, like, and people get upset. People balk at it. It's
Right.
as they should, you know, but I mean, and different people will balk at different things. I mean, some people will comply, but I think there's also people who are just like, no, how about no? And I'm going to go on with my life.
How about no? I had written down one specific thing that I wanted to touch with you on, even though we don't have the new software yet where I'll pull it up. Did you happen to have seen the YouTube prankster who got shot?
I think I heard of it. I don't know.
I have a lot of opinions, and it's like I'm gonna find it. It's only like 30 seconds in. YouTube prank gone wrong.
I feel like I've heard of it.
Shot.
He tried to take somebody's car or something. Was that one? Was that it?
No.
Okay.
Let me see if this is the actual video. Yes, okay. So I'm gonna send you a video. I'm gonna put it here in the chat. Okay. You play it. Start at Mark 16. Oh, stop talking. Not you. Sorry. I send it here in the chat. Go to second, like 15 or something, and start playing.
Okay.
Right. For the people who are listening, this is the YouTube prank gone wrong, by lack of better wording. It's a prankster who comes with a friend and a camera person who walks up to someone who is doing DoorDash, so he's working. They come in his personal space. They start playing from their mobile phone, "Why are you thinking of my Twinkie?" or something like that. And the door dasher retreats, moves back, says no. They keep moving forward with him towards his space. He says no again. He tries to slam the phone away, keeps moving backward. The prankster, using air quotes here, keeps moving into his space. The door dasher says stop and no. And after the prankster completely disregards these very simple commands, the DoorDash grabs his firearm and shoots him in the side of his body. Now, he has been the news, because the trial was just recently, and he got absolved from any, like attempted to murder or any big charges. However, he's still getting charged for I should have prepared the official terminology, but like firing inside of a building, and right. And the internet is absolutely divided about this. Not only do you see a non-America versus American opinion, you see a very within America, you see the the leftovers versus the rest of the America kind of opinion. And what I am, not only am I PMSing, so like I'm diving in the rabbit hole of like, the trial and everything. What really actually upsets me is that this guy was just trying to do his work, right? Like he got up that day trying to, like, he's a young, fairly young kid trying to just survive and make a buck. And I'm glad that he didn't get, any, manslaughter, whatever, kind of like any extreme charges. I am absolutely upset that he still got charged for something. And I am upset that this guy was just trying to live a life, and it got so extremely disrupted with malicious intent by,
Yep.
prankster, by lack of, again, this is not even pranking for me.
No.
And talking about, the punitive and restorative. So assuming, like, because these things take months, days, so he's not going to keep his job, right? He's not going to, it's going to cost him a leg and a kidney to pay for all the fees, because normal people do not have that type of money. Yeah. And
Right.
even though if someone was taken on pro bono, it doesn't fucking matter. The amount of resources it takes.
To defend yourself, right? In
Right.
court, right? Yeah.
And to even potentially restore that, right? To find a new job, if anything, or be able to go through this stressful period where, you were just living your life, attempting to exist, and someone disrupted it. This malicious, again, PMSing too. So that's what I got upset about. Whereas the internet was divided absolutely in like, oh, he should have warned him with saying, no, I'm gonna, grab my firearm if you don't stop. No, I'm like, no, he said no 3 times. He said stop twice. He
Tried to
physically
walk away.
retreated,
That's
right?
just
He
right.
physically moved away.
Yep.
And 3 people, significantly bigger in size, but 3 people nonetheless, keep moving into his space. Now that's a fucking great way to get fucking shot.
I mean, the thing is that you can't think that, okay, you can't, that the same people who are probably balking at the firearm are the people who say no means no, right? So if no means no, then no means no. And when a dude says it to another dude, it also means no. And if that were a woman, right? If that was a woman and dude was starting to harass her and she did the same thing, I don't know that you would have
would
the
be
same
empowering.
division. Oh yeah, she'd be strong and independent. And I'd still have her side, by the way. I would also defend her. And I would also say, yes, she was right to do that.
Absolutely.
Because that's harassment. That's
Thank you.
harassment. And like you're literally stalking this person and you're imposing on this person and they're telling you to leave them alone and you're not doing it. And now, because especially if the person is, which they were, significantly larger, I fear for my life is a real thing. Okay? And you don't know what sets somebody off. So the idea that that you're entitled to a warning, that you're entitled to, a cautionary warning or some sort of, no, you're not. No, you're not. First of all, you're not entitled to be there in his face in the first place. You're not entitled to do any of this to this person. And so the mere fact that he's saying no and he's trying to walk away is enough. That should have been your warning. And you didn't read the room. And now your illiterate ass is shot. So, I mean,
the worst thing is, again, went down the rabbit hole. There's footage of him and his mother coming out of the courtroom, and his mother. It looks as if the mother has told him one day this is going to go wrong. That's what it looks like. Like she speaks in a matter like, we respect the jury, et cetera, et cetera. But it looks as if she said, as she is, the cows came to roost. I don't know what the fucking phrase.
Chickens came home to roost.
I know some animal came to roost. Cows came home, chickens came to roost. Something.
E-I-E-I-O.
But he verbally expresses while he's laying on the bed, even kind of making mocking faces, that he's just going to continue these videos. And all of his videos are absolutely horrendous and will definitely get you stabbed. So this is just so not only restorative, but punitive would be like, so, and it's obviously, I don't want to say like you're not allowed on YouTube anymore, because then we're going to get down a very complicated, road. But some restrictions should probably apply.
I think the thing is he recorded his own damning evidence of him being an asshole.
Right. I mean, if we can remove people from platforms just for allegations, then this behavior should definitely elicit a proper consequence.
Well, I mean, I think the proper consequence took place. He got shot.
But he's not learning.
He's not. And I think, and at some point he's,
Oh, shit. Wait, you're dropping out.
Uh-oh. Mhm.
Are you back? Wait, you're
Yeah.
dropped out. You're dropped out. 1 second, you're dropped out. Are we back? Say something.
Hello?
No, still dropped. Just wait. Like it's doing the robot thing where like
Oh, okay.
it'll. Okay, let's try it again. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, you seem back.
Okay. um, but yeah, I mean, again, it's not sustainable. Like that kind of behavior is going to get him, is going to get him killed. I mean, you're. I don't know
It's
what
gonna
else to
get
say.
him killed. Actually,
Right. It
yeah.
doesn't.
100.
It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of time. And the problem is that he's putting it on society to dole out that consequence for him. Like because the courts, it's not what he did was
Right.
not a capital crime, but it can be by his victim, right? As a matter of self-defense, it could be a capital crime, right? That is adjudicated right then and there and sentenced right then and there. Maybe not by a court, but certainly by his own actions, he can bring this on himself. And the thing is that I feel like society has a way of sussing that out. Like if you break into people's homes in places like Texas, your ass is going to get shot. It doesn't matter that breaking and entering is not a capital crime. It is when you're in my house. It just is, So it's like, it doesn't matter what it is over here in the system because I'm the first responder. And in this case, the DoorDash guy is the first responder to a situation. And this is what happens.
Well said.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the pranking, but I feel like if people start getting it in their heads that they can do this without consequence, they'll do it. And I think this kid kind of showed them that it's like, yeah, you don't know who you're fucking with, so perhaps don't.
Also, I feel like the DoorDash, the actual victim, I feel that he handled it absolutely gloriously. Right, I think he did everything right in the book, verbally expressing, physically retreating. He did everything by the book that he could have done,
right,
and more.
Right.
One thing that you used as an example, which I would love as perhaps our last riff, is breaking and entering. As an in East European, or as East European, that I'm all for, like, violence is an answer. As Western European, everyone's always like, oh, but they don't know their intentions, and maybe we should discuss that in our next episode about how people think that your intentions matter the moment you break into my house.
Okay. Yeah. Let's leave off there then.
Epic. Diamond.
Demon.
Our first episode.
Yes.
Epic. So we'll see each other next week, and we'll try the other software too. And everyone listening, this is gonna be a weekly thing now. You're welcome, by the way. Graced with our presence, and now you can, let us know in any opinions or tags what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, and why. Mostly, just don't do just like I agree, but tell me why you agreed, or tell me why you disagreed. Let us roll on to these conversations, because conversations, after all, are the only reason to keep a glorious and beautiful world existing. Otherwise, it's done.
Yeah.
Okay, Kelly. See you next week.
And for those who have seen me or have been following me online, you know that I've just launched Slaying the Inner Demons. It's still up for grabs. Just shoot me a DM, because I don't make the links anymore too public now that we started, because there's a lot of information that I need to add to it just to get you right on the roll. Jump in.
Wait. Were you almost hanging up, leaving me and everyone in this podcast without liking, subscribing, and putting on that bell notification? Nah, that's not cool. Come on, do it. And if you're feeling extra feisty today, share, tag me, and tell me what you like the most about the episode. Let's hear it in the comments. Let's hear it on all the platforms. I'll see you in the next episode.